Welcome to English Voice Room. We're so glad you're joining us today
We really are.
because today we are tackling something that I think causes a universal sense of dread for everyone, professionals, students, language
What?
learners.
It's the silent anxiety trigger. We see it all the time.
You do.
People can prepare for those really specific questions. You ask them, what is your greatest strength? They have an answer ready.
Or how long have you lived here?
I know.
Simple.
Exactly. But the moment someone, an interviewer, a new classmate, even a friend of a friend, just says, so tell me about yourself.
It's like the whole system just shorts out. The carefully constructed mental library just collapses.
That's the word for it, collapse.
My own mind, I swear, just flashes through 10 different slides at once. There's my job, that project I just finished, my weird obsession with old movies, the coffee I just had.
Right, and they're all important to you.
They are, but when you try to explain them all at once, it's just a mess.
And that's exactly what we call the too many pictures problem. All those separate images, your work, your hobbies, your family, they all just smash together into this big, noisy cloud.
A big, noisy cloud. That's perfect. The other person can't make sense of it, and you walk away feeling like you failed the simplest question in the world. So today, we are going to fix that feeling. Our mission is to help you replace that noisy cloud with something clear, something engaging, a pre-written narrative.
It's like having a short movie script about yourself. Not just a list of sentences, but a story that you can adapt and feel really confident telling.
A script that feels calm and maybe most importantly, invites the other person to actually respond and connect with you.
And this skill, it's just fundamental. It's like social architecture. You need it for a job interview, for meeting new colleagues on a project, for a language exchange.
Or just meeting a new neighbor. It's the foundation for really every relationship you start.
It's the moment you set the tone. So yeah, we're going to build this script step by step. Let's make that first minute really, really count.
Okay, so let's get strategic. Before we even think about the words, the very first step, and this is the one people always seem to miss, is the environmental assessment.
Yes. Reading the room. You have to figure out the right level of formality.
Or register way.
Exactly. It's a nonverbal cue that shows you're socially aware. If you get the tone wrong,
Yeah.
say you're super formal at a casual party.
Oh, it's so awkward. You create this instant distance.
You do, and it's so hard to fix that later. So we generally break it down into 3 common levels: informal, semi-formal, and formal.
Let's start with the easiest one, the most comfortable. Informal.
So this is your relaxed social territory. You're chatting with friends, you're at a party, maybe sitting with new classmates during a break at school.
A cafe, someone's house.
Yeah. The whole vibe is relaxed. You expect laughter, casual conversation, no pressure.
And your language has to reflect that. You can't walk up to someone on a sofa at a party and say, "Good afternoon, it is a great pleasure to make your acquaintance."
Huh, yeah, you'd sound like a time traveler. Or a very strange salesperson. The language needs to be warm, accessible.
The cues are all around you, right? People are dressed casually, the noise level's a bit higher.
Right. Okay, so moving up a level. Semi-formal. This is probably the most common one in like a professional context today.
The friendly professional zone. I think of networking events, industry conferences, maybe the first day of a new training workshop.
Meeting new colleagues, too. People who aren't your direct boss, but you're in the same office. There's a balance.
A balance, exactly. You need to be approachable, friendly, but you still need to sound competent.
So the language is polite. You're still smiling. Maybe a light joke is okay, but you're not using slang or talking about anything too personal. The goal is to build that professional connection.
And then all the way at the top, we have the formal situation.
This is the high-stakes, official stuff. A job interview with a senior manager, a big presentation, a meeting at a government office.
Meeting a really important client for the first time.
Yes. And here, your style has to be careful. Every word matters. The language should be simple, direct, very polite.
This is where you might avoid contractions, right? Like saying I am instead of I'm, if you want to be extra formal.
You definitely would. And you avoid any kind of casual slang. For example, in a normal conversation, if someone asks you to do something, you might say, no worries.
Sure.
But in a formal job interview, of course, or I'm happy to do that, is much safer. It's more respectful.
So the big takeaway here is that you have to listen and look first. Check out how people are dressed, listen to the tone of other conversations, and then choose your style.
Right. The goal is not to surprise your listener. You want to match their expectations so they can just focus on what you're saying, not how you're saying it.
That makes perfect sense. Align with them first.
Yeah. Okay, so once we've got the atmosphere figured out, we can actually start building the introduction itself. We start with the very first words, the hook, part 1, the greeting.
And this immediately signals which of those 3 levels you've chosen. It has to come out smoothly.
It does. You need to practice it so it's automatic, even if you're nervous.
So let's start with the safest bets. For a truly formal setting, what are the go-to options?
The classics, hello, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You can't go wrong with those. If you're not sure of the time of day, hello is always perfect.
And in a professional setting, you can even add a little something to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's very powerful to combine it with a little bit of gratitude. For example, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to see me today.
I like that. It immediately sets a professional and respectful tone.
It does. Now, for a semi-formal situation, we can relax things just a bit.
This is where you might shorten things.
Exactly. Instead of the full good morning, a lot of native speakers will just say morning with a little nod or a smile. It's quick, it's friendly, but it's still professional.
Hi there also works well in that context, I think.
It does. And then, of course, for informal, you have the most freedom. Hi. Hey there.
Now, what about things like, what's up, or how's it going?
That's a great question. And there's a little strategy here. I'd say use those with caution.
Why is that?
Because they aren't just greetings. They're actually mini questions. They require an answer, even if it's just not much. If you're nervous and you throw one out, it can kind of disrupt your flow.
So if you want to deliver your prepared introduction, a simple hi or hey is safer because it doesn't invite an immediate question back.
Precisely. Stick to hi if you're not sure. And I think your earlier point is key. Pick one greeting for formal and one for informal, and just practice them. Practice saying them with a smile until they feel totally natural.
Good advice. Okay, so we've said hello. Next up, part 2, your name.
And here, clarity is everything.
The basics are simple. I'm name, or my name is name.
Right, but we can add those little polite phrases we talked about. In a more formal setting, you'd say, hello, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is name.
And informally.
You can combine them to be more efficient. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm name. The important thing is to say your actual name clearly. Don't rush it.
This brings us to a really important cultural point, especially for learners.
Yeah.
Nicknames.
Yes. This is a big one. In many cultures, it can feel a bit too familiar or even rude to use a short name right away.
But in a lot of English-speaking places, it's the opposite. Using a shorter name is a sign of friendliness, of trying to close that distance quickly.
It is. So if your name has a common short version, like Thomas becomes Tom, or Rebecca becomes Becky, it's actually a really good idea to offer it yourself.
So what's the best way to phrase that?
There's a great useful pattern. My full name is longer name, but most people call me nickname.
Or please call me Tom.
Exactly. That does 2 things. First, it prevents the other person from having to guess or maybe struggle with a longer, unfamiliar name. But more importantly,
it gives them permission to be friendly. It says it's okay for us to be casual, and that's really valuable, especially in networking.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on to part 3. We call this the life map, where you're from and where you live.
This is the first real chance for a connection, right? It gives geographical context.
It does. The simplest pattern is just, I'm from Country City. I'm from Brazil, or I'm from Delhi.
But you have to think about who you're talking to. If I'm in, say, Canada, and I tell someone I'm from a small city in Italy they've never heard of, they might be a little lost.
That's a great point. And that's where we use a little clarity technique. The pattern is city plus it's in plus country.
Can you give an example?
Sure. You can say, I'm from Porto. It's in the north of Portugal. That gives the listener immediate context, and it stops them from having to interrupt you to ask, sorry, where is that?
That's really helpful. Now, what about people who, live in a different place from where they were born? That's so common now.
Very common. And it tells a little mini story about your life's journey. The best way to handle that is with a simple structure. I was born in place A, but now I live in place B.
I find adding the word originally works really well here. I'm originally from Poland, but I've been living in Berlin for the last few years.
Originally is perfect. It frames your location as part of a dynamic story, not just a static fact.
And you mentioned adding time there. Is that a good idea?
It can be, if it's relevant. You can keep it simple using the present perfect tense. I've been living in London for 3 years, or since 2021.
I guess that would be relevant in a job interview, for example, to show you're settled in the city.
Exactly. But the real power of location is that it's a conversation starter. It's a bridge. If you say you're from Italy.
I'm immediately thinking about food or art Or my vacation to Rome.
Right. You're giving the other person an easy topic to talk about. Oh, I love Italian food. And now you're having a real conversation, not just an introduction.
So you're basically offering them the first topic. That's a great way to think about it.
It is. Just one little nuance here. Be prepared for any kind of response. If you mention a place that was just in the news for something negative, like a natural disaster,
Oh, that's tricky.
it can be. The other person might bring it up, trying to be empathetic. Your job is to acknowledge it briefly, and then pivot back to something positive and personal. Yes, that was terrible, but I have to say, the community spirit there is amazing.
So always steer it back to a shared, positive human experience. That's smart.
Okay, so we've set the tone, we've given our name, our location. Now we get to the things that take up most of our time, professional and domestic life. Let's start with part 4, which is work or study.
This is probably the most common follow-up question in the world, right? So what do you do?
It is. And the first, most critical thing for any learner to understand is what that question actually means. It means, what is your job, or what are you studying?
Right. It doesn't mean what are you doing at this exact moment.
No. And it doesn't mean what are your plans for the weekend. Getting that distinction right is huge.
So assuming you have a job, what's the cleanest way to answer?
The standard structure is I work as a pay, or I'm a pay. So I work as a graphic designer, or I'm an English teacher.
Now, a lot of job titles today are, well, they're a bit weird and internal. They don't mean much to an outsider.
That's a fantastic point. If your title is something like Level 3 Synergy Facilitator, that's just going to confuse people.
So what do you do then?
You focus on the function, not the title. You describe what you actually do. So instead of that title, you could say, I work in project management, or I help our different teams communicate more effectively.
That's so much clearer. You can also add details about the company or the industry.
Yes, I work for a large tech company in the marketing department. Or if the company is well known, you can talk about the field. I work in the education sector.
What about people who don't have one single job? Freelancers, people with a portfolio career.
A growing number of people. In that case, you focus on your core skill. I'm a freelance writer, or I work for myself as a business consultant.
I work for myself is a really clear and powerful way to put it.
It is. Now, this can be a sensitive area, but what about someone who is currently looking for a job?
Right. How do you answer, what do you do, then?
The key is to sound proactive and positive, not passive. The phrase, I'm between jobs at the moment, is quite common and polite. It suggests it's a temporary situation.
I've also heard, I'm currently looking for a new opportunity.
That's good too. But I think the most powerful way is to frame it around your future plans. I'm currently transitioning into the tech industry after working in finance for 10 years.
Oh, I love that. It turns a potential negative unemployment into a positive story about growth and ambition.
Exactly. It shows you have a direction.
Okay, so what about students?
Students have a very clear and easy structure. I'm a student, and I study subject. So I'm a student, I study computer science.
And you can add more detail if you want. I'm studying business, and right now I'm specializing in international marketing.
And many people do both. They work and study, so you can combine them. I'm studying history at university, and I also work part-time in a cafe to help pay for my books. That tells a really nice, complete story in just one sentence.
It does. And finally, what about people whose primary role is at home?
A very important role. It's crucial to use clear, respectful terms. I'm a homemaker, or I'm a stay-at-home dad, or I stay at home with my children. This is an active choice and a full-time job.
Absolutely. Okay, that covers work and study. Let's move on to part 5, family and home. This is where we talk about living situations, siblings, but again, only sharing what feels comfortable.
Right. And you have to be aware of the cultural context. In some places, talking about your partner and kids right away is normal. In others, especially in a professional setting, you might wait until you know someone better.
So assuming it's an appropriate, maybe semi-formal setting, what are some simple ways to describe your living situation?
Very simple phrases work best. I live with my parents, or I live with my husband and our 2 kids.
And if you live by yourself?
You can just say, I live alone, or I live on my own. It can be nice to add a little detail about the place. I live alone in a small apartment near the city center.
What about sharing with people who aren't family?
You'd say, I share a flat with 2 friends, or I live with roommates. It's good to know the local term, actually. In the U.S., it's almost always roommates. But in the U.K. or Australia, you'd probably say flatmates or housemates.
That's a good tip. Now, what about siblings? Brothers and sisters, that feels like a very safe and common topic.
It is. It's universal. You can use the word siblings to refer to all of them, but usually people are a bit more specific.
Adding older or younger gives a bit more detail. I have one older sister and a younger brother.
Exactly. And that gives a really clear picture of your family. If you don't have any siblings, the specific phrase is, I'm an only child.
And being an only child often leads to interesting conversations, so you should be prepared to talk a little bit about that experience.
You can also describe your position in the family, which can be a fun way to hint at your personality.
How so?
Well, you could say, I'm the oldest child, so of course I'm very responsible. Or I'm the youngest, so I'm used to being a bit more relaxed.
That's a great way to link a simple fact about yourself to a personality trait. It makes it more memorable.
It does. And if you want, you can briefly mention what your parents do, especially if it's interesting. My mother is a kindergarten teacher, or my father is a chef.
The key takeaway for this whole section seems to be that we're not just listing data. We're using facts about our work, our studies, our family to show who we are and what we're committed to.
That's it, exactly.
So we've built the foundation. We know who you are, where you're from, what you do. But an introduction with only facts is, well, it's a bit boring. It's like a resume.
It is. So section 4 is all about adding the color, the personality.
Yeah.
This is what makes people actually remember you as a person. And we start with part 6, hobbies and free time.
Now, the goal here isn't just to say what you do right now. It's about creating another connection point.
It's an open door. You're giving the other person another easy way to continue the conversation.
And you have to be a little strategic about which hobby you choose to share, especially if you're short on time.
You do. Choose something you're genuinely passionate about or something that's likely to be a shared interest.
So what are some good phrases to use beyond just, I like?
You can definitely use stronger, more enthusiastic language. A great phrase is, I'm really into. For example, I'm really into hiking, or I'm really into playing the guitar.
That shows more passion. I'm really into, it sounds more interesting than I like.
It does. Another good one, especially for things like sports or movies, is I'm a big fan of. So I'm a big fan of football, or I'm a big fan of Korean dramas.
I think the key is to choose a hobby that invites a follow-up question. If I say, I enjoy reading.
The natural next question is, oh, cool. What kind of books do you read? Or what are you reading right now?
And now you're talking. You're having a real conversation.
Exactly. A little word of caution, though. It's probably best to avoid hobbies that are very controversial or extremely niche, at least in the first introduction.
Right. You want to be approachable. Okay, so from hobbies, let's move to part 7. Likes and dislikes. The human element.
This is where you can show your personality with small, relatable details. This is the stuff people remember.
It's the difference between a list of facts and a real person.
And you can create a nice balance by combining a like and a dislike.
Give me an example.
Something like, I love cats, and I really enjoy spicy food, but I can't stand waking up early in the morning.
That's fun, it's specific, and it's memorable. And the not liking waking up early part is so relatable.
It is. You've instantly created a shared experience, or you could link it to a daily activity. I love the smell of coffee in the morning, but I really don't like waiting in long lines.
Everyone can relate to that. You've found common ground.
And it's important to keep these likes and dislikes focused on safe topics, especially when you first meet someone. Food, weather, movies, music, all great.
And topics to avoid.
Generally, in most English-speaking cultures, it's best to steer clear of strong opinions on politics or religion until you know someone much, much better.
Good advice. Okay, part 8, daily routine. This is an interesting one that people don't often include.
They don't, but it can be really effective. It shows the rhythm of your life. You're not sharing your whole diary, just 2 or 3 simple actions.
And you can use phrases that show it's a regular thing, like on weekdays, I usually, or normally in the evenings.
Right. So an example would be on weekdays, I usually wake up around 7, have a quick breakfast, and then go to the gym before work.
And if you're a language learner, this is a great place to naturally include that.
It is. After work, I usually make dinner and then study English for about half an hour. It shows your dedication without sounding like you're bragging.
The routine really shows people how you live your life, how you operate. It adds another layer.
It does. Which brings us to the final part of this section, part 9, describing personality and strengths. This is for when someone asks that really tough question, so what do you like?
Oof, yeah, that's a hard one. How do we even start to answer that?
We need to move beyond just single adjectives and be a bit more strategic. The idea is to choose 2 or 3 words that really represent you in that specific context.
The basic pattern could be, I think I'm a pretty adjective 1 and adjective 2 person.
That's a great start. But let's talk about the words themselves. For example, a lot of people say they're patient. What does that actually signal to the listener?
Well, it suggests you can handle difficult situations without getting angry. If you're a teacher or an engineer, that's a really important quality.
Exactly. Or think about the difference between creative and curious. A creative person makes new things. A curious person asks a lot of questions. They're related, but they're different.
So you should choose the word that best fits your goal. If you're in a job interview for a research position, curious might be better.
Precisely. And a powerful technique is to show, not just tell. Don't just say, I'm hardworking.
So you link it to something you've already said.
Yes, I consider myself pretty hardworking, especially when I have a deadline for a client project. That provides evidence.
I like that. Another good technique is to use what other people say about you. It feels a bit more humble.
It does. My friends say I'm funny and easy to talk to. That's a great way to deliver the information without it feeling like you're boasting.
And what about something like shyness? Is it okay to admit that?
I think it is. As long as you frame it positively. You could say, I can be a little bit shy at first, but I open up once I get to know people.
That shows self-awareness, and it also manages the other person's expectations. That's really smart.
Okay, we've done it. We've built a full picture of who you are right now. But a good story needs a direction. It needs to be going somewhere.
So the final piece of the puzzle is part 10, future plans and motivation.
Exactly. This answers the why. Why are you learning English? Why are you applying for this job? It connects everything you've just said to your future ambitions.
People might ask this directly, right? What are your plans for the future?
They will. And you can start your answer with some really strong phrases. In the future, I'd like to. Or my goal is to. Or even one of my dreams is to.
And the examples should be concrete, not just, I want to be successful.
No, much more specific. My goal is to improve my English so I can use it more confidently in meetings at work. Or, in the future, I'd like to travel around Southeast Asia for a few months.
That gives your whole introduction a sense of purpose. It leaves the listener with a feeling of forward momentum.
It's the perfect way to wrap up your personal story. It provides a natural ending point for your movie script.
Okay, so we have all these 10 parts. Greeting, name, location, job, family, hobbies, personality, future plans. It's a lot.
It is a lot. And this brings us to the single most important piece of advice in this whole process. You do not say all of it.
Right. This is about structuring the mini-script. It's about editing.
It's distillation. If you try to include all 10 parts, the other person will be completely overwhelmed. Their eyes will glaze over.
You're not writing your life story. You're making a movie trailer.
Perfect analogy. A good introduction should be, 60 to 90 seconds,
Okay.
maybe 2 minutes at the absolute maximum. You have to choose to leave things out.
So what are the absolute must-have components?
You need the foundation. Greeting, name, location, and your main activity. So your job or what you study. That's the core.
And then on top of that, you choose just 1 or 2 things from the personality sections.
Exactly. Pick one hobby or one key personality trait or your main future goal. Just 1 or 2 to add that color.
Let's try to build one. Let's take a hypothetical person. Let's call her Maya. She's a computer engineer, and she's at a semi-formal networking event.
Okay, great example. So Maya's goal is to sound competent, but also approachable. She wants to make a good professional connection.
So she starts with the foundation.
Right. She walks up and says, "Hi there, it's great to meet you. My name's Maya. I'm originally from Thailand, but I've been living and working here in Dubai for about 5 years. I'm a computer engineer at a tech consulting firm."
Okay, that's perfect. Greeting, name, location, job. Clear and concise. That took maybe 25 seconds.
Now she needs to add some color to make a connection.
Says she could add a hobby.
Exactly. She could say, when I'm not working, I'm really into hiking. The mountains near the city are amazing. I find it's a great way to, unwind after a week of looking at code.
I like that. She not only shared a hobby, but she explained why she likes it, which says something about her personality, that she likes to relax and get outdoors.
And then, to finish, she adds that future direction.
The motivation.
Right. My long-term goal is to eventually lead a team that develops educational software for kids. I'm really passionate about using technology to help people learn.
And that's it. That's the whole introduction. It was probably just over a minute long, and we learned who she is, what she does, what she enjoys, and where she's going. It's a complete picture.
And think about what she left out. She didn't mention her family or her daily routine or the fact that she doesn't like spicy food.
Because it wasn't relevant to her goal in that specific situation. She was strategic.
That is the genius of having a prepared script. You have all the information ready, but you only use the parts that serve your purpose in that moment.
So that question, tell me about yourself, it stops being the scary test.
It becomes an invitation to share a story about yourself that you're excited to tell. And that changes everything.
It really does. Okay, so this whole process, building this narrative, it's such a good investment in your own confidence. Let's summarize the homework, the key steps for everyone listening.
Okay, step 1. You need to choose one clear, simple sentence for each of the core parts. Your go-to greeting, your name and nickname, your location, your job or study, and one hobby you're passionate about.
Just those 5 to start. And step 2, which I think is so important, is to physically write them down.
Yes, the act of writing forces your brain to choose the words and check the grammar. It makes the sentences real. It's like building a mental anchor.
And step 3?
Practice. Say your 1-minute script out loud. Do it in the car. Do it in front of the mirror while you're brushing your teeth.
The more you say it, the more natural it will feel coming out of your mouth, and the less you'll panic when the moment actually comes.
And focus on the rhythm. Don't rush from your name straight into your job. Take a small breath. A little pause is confident.
That's great advice. So before we sign off, we want to leave you with a final thought to think about this week. It connects back to that idea of making your introduction really memorable.
Your goal is not to be perfect. Your goal is to make a genuine human connection. So our question for you is this. If you could include just one small, specific, maybe even slightly quirky detail in your 60-second script.
Something that's really you. A unique food you love, a funny story about your hometown, a strange talent you have.
What would that one detail be? And how could you use it to make sure the other person remembers you, not just your job title?
Find that little human detail, weave it into your story, and get ready to introduce yourself with a whole new level of confidence.
Keep practicing, and we'll talk to you next time.